There was a time when online gaming was something truly special. At its core, it had two simple goals: let people play games together and give them a place to connect and socialize. And while it absolutely did that, it wasn't just those things that made it great, it was everything else. Games felt complete, and multiplayer wasn't some work in progress waiting to be patched and fixed after launch. Online games back then at their core were content rich and built to last. Maps were handcrafted, progression felt earned, and despite technical limitations, there was a real sense of freedom in how you played. And when you mix all that with the fact that online gaming was still a pretty new and exciting feature for players to explore at the time, it made everything feel even more revolutionary, and I'm here to talk about it. But before I start, I just want to say this isn't just nostalgia talking, and I'm not here to completely hate on modern online gaming, as much as I would love to. It's just that modern online gaming is genuinely a completely different experience than what it once was, and also has a completely different goal in mind. And to explain what I mean, we have to take a trip back to the golden age of online gaming. If you grew up gaming in the 2000s, you knew how special this time was for gaming. So many genre-defining games, massive and generational leaps in technology, a huge player-first mentality, and most importantly, the rise of online gaming. Online gaming not only became more of a thing throughout the 2000s, it kind of became the thing throughout the 2000s. And this was pretty much all thanks to Microsoft for really bringing it to the mainstream with the original Xbox and completely changing the game with the Xbox 360. Being able to play games online with people from all over the world was pretty mind-blowing, and the fact that you can even talk to those people made it even crazier. The social aspect of online gaming during this time is completely unmatched by anything we have today. Online didn't just offer this new era of socialization either, it also brought massive value in terms of content, freedom, and replayability. It just completely opened up an entirely new side of gaming, and at the time, it was almost overwhelming, but in the best way possible. Games were no longer something you played, beat, and just threw on the shelf. All of a sudden, after finishing the campaign, you had an entirely new experience waiting for you in multiplayer, which in theory could provide weeks, months, or even years of extra playtime to the player. And that was a pretty big deal, because it completely changed the way we looked at and played games. You weren't just replaying old story missions anymore, you were improving your skills, building rivalries, discovering new game modes, constantly talking to and making new friends, and so much more. I really can't explain enough how much all of these extra variables added to the gaming experience, especially with the social aspect. At the time, voice chat in games was like the first time someone combined cereal and milk. It just made sense, and it changed everything. People loved the social side of gaming so much, in fact, that the game took a backseat a lot of the time because you were so engaged with the people in your lobby. Because those people in your lobby were absolute comedians. Every offensive word you can possibly think of was used freely and often by the people in these lobbies, and it was hilarious. But aside from a lot of those chaotic and not for everyone interactions, there was also a lot of genuine ones. I was constantly adding cool random people from lobbies who I then went on to play games with for years to come. It's really one of those things where you just had to be there to get it, but if you know, you know. Also, to quickly address the PC side of things, well, I didn't have a PC, but my brother did, and I can tell you the social aspect on PC was far crazier than on console, mainly because you had games like World of Warcraft and RuneScape and other big MMOs that were absolutely massive in scale and had communities like no others. These MMOs were digital hangouts where players would just straight up chill in areas of the map, trade with each other, show off gear, and just chat with people around them. I'm sure any old school PC gamer from that time would say that it was absolutely amazing. At least I think. But like I said before, even though I never played those games in their peak, I did witness them many times, and it was really cool to see how different it was compared to your casual console FPS lobby. But aside from the game-changing social aspect that came with online gaming, let's talk a little bit more about the huge player-first mentality that online gaming used to have, because this is another big one. One of the best things online made possible was for devs to deliver great content to games that players loved even after launch. Whether it was a few new multiplayer maps, a brand new game mode, or even a massive expansion pack. The extra content felt like a genuine bonus, not something that was supposed to be part of the base game, but was cut and sold separately, like today. This is why players in most cases back then were happy to pay for it. It was never seen as a cash grab or content that was owed to the player. It was seen as a way to extend a game's lifespan and get more out of the games you were playing. And honestly, that feels way better than what we have today, because over time, the focus shifted away from traditional DLC and towards live service models, as most of you probably know. And on the surface, that sounds amazing. A game that keeps getting free updates for years and years, sign me up. But in reality, the intention behind it isn't to give the players quality content, it's to drip feed them through bare minimum updates that are just good enough to keep you logging in, to increase the chance that you will buy something from the in-game store. The goal isn't lasting enjoyment anymore, it's engagement metrics and monetization. And yes, I'm aware that microtransactions slowly became more of a thing in the late 2000s, but they were much less common, and studios did not yet prioritize them into their game like they do today. They were literally just skins as far as I remember, except for a few games here and there, or a game like Guitar Hero. Those games were ridiculous, but that's few and far between. And when you compare what it was like to how it is today, it's really bad. Like half the multiplayer games I go to fire up today shove the battle pass or storefront right in my face before I even get to the menu. Like that should just be illegal. It's almost like the game itself is the side content and all the microtransactions are the real game. But I'm not gonna keep dumping on modern online gaming. That's for another video, so like and subscribe if you want to see that. I just wanted to give this as one example to get the point across that many online games today don't have the player first mentality like they used to. Many online games in the 2000s always seemed to deliver quality content, and this is probably mainly because those games came from the mindset of devs who were actual gamers themselves. So they respected the players they were making the content for and knew what they wanted. And if for some reason you don't believe me, just go and watch any old videos on the making of games like Halo 2 or World of Warcraft, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Those people knew exactly what they were doing, why they were doing it, and who they were doing it for.
People, like, we are the jaded crowd who, if a game doesn't entertain us in 5 minutes, we stop playing it.
Anyways, I think you get my point, so let's move on. Now, I know I've been glazing the golden age of online gaming, but now let's talk about some issues, because it wasn't all perfect. I would say the biggest issue with online gaming back then were the technical limitations that came with it, since it was still a pretty new thing. So issues like substantially lower internet quality than what we have today, and overall server stability and matchmaking issues were fairly common. Also, things like cheating were on the rise, so that's never a good thing. And some people would say that paid subscription models like Xbox Live Gold or a World of Warcraft subscription were pretty expensive, especially for the time. And I can't argue with any of that, so I'm not gonna. But I will say that while many aspects have improved since the early days, which is great, there are many issues that remain unsolved and have gotten even worse. Not to mention the numerous amount of new complaints that gamers have with online games today. So it definitely wasn't all sunshine and rainbows back then, and that's still the case today. Now that I've covered what I think were the best parts of online gaming during the golden age and some downsides, I wanted to share what was definitely a top feature in my opinion that online gaming introduced. So this part is absolutely going to be nostalgia based for me, but who cares? And that amazing feature I'm referring to was the Xbox Live Arcade on the 360. This place was perfect. The Xbox Live Arcade, for those who don't know, was a magical place where you can go and discover games from much smaller studios known as indie studios. The Xbox Live Arcade allowed for many of these indie titles to reach massive audiences without needing a physical release, which was a pretty big deal. The first one of these games I ever played was called Castle Crashers, and my god was it amazing. It was a genuinely good solo or co-op game, especially for the price, which I think at the time was like 10 or 15 bucks. 1000% worth it, no question. And some other notable and popular titles that I loved were Ultra Marble Blast, Toy Soldiers, Limbo, Trials, and Splosion Man. These games were my shit. I was really building up my gamer cred with these ones. Then not to mention the actual indie games on the Xbox 360, like the $1 to $3 masterpieces that they were just giving away. Games like Castle Miner Z, Apoc Z, Zombie Square, these are AAA titles at heart, and that's what matters. But all jokes aside though, I do believe the Xbox Live Arcade really did a lot for indie games on the console side of things. This is something PC was always good at, so a console bringing these smaller, unique titles to a large audience was pretty cool. Microsoft supporting the little guy, you know? Overall though, the rise of online gaming in the 2000s was an absolutely amazing time to be a gamer, and while it wasn't perfect, the good far outweighed the bad. It was a time of discovery, innovation, creativity, and a real connection in the gaming world. I know for most of this video I've mainly been talking about the Xbox side of things a lot, and that's because they were at the forefront of this new era of gaming. The OG Xbox and the 360 absolutely killed it with their easy to use online features. Things like friends list, voice chat, online store, even matchmaking were all things yet to be introduced to a massive audience until Xbox came along. And this whole golden age wasn't just on consoles either. PC gamers were in a golden era of their own, with massive online communities in games such as World of Warcraft, RuneScape, Counter-Strike, and many others. Each of these titles were unique, and each felt like their own digital world. And on top of that, you had companies like Valve, Blizzard, and Microsoft that were constantly pushing the boundaries and making the PC gaming experience significantly better during that era. But whatever platform you were playing on at the time, there was no doubt that this was online gaming in its peak. And looking back on it now, there were so many things that just made the experience amazing to be a part of. And for me, it's an era of gaming that will be missed and remembered forever. But that's it for me though. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.